I know in my mind, if I give it enough throttle and work the clutch, it's going to stay up, no matter how tight I am. However, from here to here is a problem.
That's where practice comes in.
Muscle memory, right?
Muscle memory.
Welcome to Sebastian Practice Sessions. We practice our motorcycle slow speed operation skills weekly here in Sebastian, Florida, using Robert Simmons' Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle 9 exercises, which contain invaluable road skills. Everyone is welcome regardless of skill level or riding experience. We narrate through the exercises so you can get a clear understanding of the intent of each exercise, our individual challenges with each one, and where we are looking to improve. We always have a great time, support each other, and get a little bit better every time we practice. We hope you enjoy this session, and we hope you pick up a useful nugget or two. Thanks for joining us.
So this is practice session 66, and we have a few people that came from the Harley Davidson Hog group that we went up to last Saturday to tell them about this and to also promote the Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle practice session that's coming up here at the Harley Davidson and Space Coast. Our friend Georgia Nelson is the president of the Harley Davidson, the Space Coast Harley Davidson Hog chapter. And she had us come up last weekend and promote the Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle practice session that's coming up there March 1st and March 2nd. And these two guys, Doug and Bob, they heard us speak and they decided to come to a practice session. So that's good. We have them here today. We'll see how they do. And it's a little bit, they say there's only a 1% chance of rain, but it's very wet out. It's humid and it's the fog is so thick it's almost wet. So the ground is going to be wet. We'll see how Pepper does today because we did take her into the shop and they checked the belt and the brakes and the fluids and the tires and all that stuff. So we'll see this morning if I have any slipping and sliding away like I did last time when it was wet on her. So we'll see. But we're excited to practice and we'll check back in after that.
But it's a whole different thing. So it's like don't feel bad or whatever because if we don't practice it, we don't have any idea what to do. Most people don't have any idea. It's real clumsy and real quirky because we're not, we don't have that coordination now yet. So don't even sweat it. But we're just starting with the most easiest, stops and starts. And someone will be right there. You see someone right there kind of helping. And then it progresses. So exercise 2 kind of built on 1 and 3 built on 1, 2. If at any point 3 or 4 looks like not a fit, no problem. Don't have to go. Stay on 1, 2, and 3. No big deal. That's anything to add?
Nope.
Exercise 1 is smooth stops. Smooth starts and smooth stops. So this is the very beginning of our practice session where we do all 9 exercises, the same 9 exercises every time we practice without exception, because we believe that the progression of these exercises helps build habits, and the habits help us increase our options on the road. That's all. So we are very disciplined around the exercises 1 through 9. We don't skip them because we're in a hurry, whatever. It's 1 and then 2 and then 3, right? So the exercise, while looking fairly simple, we'll see here in a minute, not that simple even for seasoned riders. This is not complicated in terms of things to remember, but it's different than most people ride. So we're going to see here with the new gentleman that joined us, Bob and Doug, what a strange technique it is for the average rider. It's just not familiar.
That's a habit, yeah.
So you can see way too fast. That is a very common thing for riders trying this. Now Doug here has been riding a long time. Beautiful anniversary Heritage Softail Classic. But riders will, when they start to move, when they start to feel the motorcycle move, they let that clutch out too far and the thing just takes off. It's okay from most people's perspective, because most people just go fast. Like, they don't go really, really slow. So they're in the habit of releasing the clutch too far into the friction zone. So it's always a learning curve with new people joining us to not let that clutch out quite so far and not go quite so fast. Like, slow is a relative term, right? Some people think they go slow and then they do this, and they really have a different perspective on what going slow means. So it might be tough to pick up. Again, our microphones broke again, so we should hopefully have them soon. But here is Bob. Bob is also on a Softail Classic, Heritage Softail Classic. Bob was very nervous trying these techniques. I thought he did really well for his first time ever trying these. Most people aren't in the habit of using their rear brake for much at all. And we're teaching rear brake, stops, and starts. Again, for maybe someone who's not seen our videos, the techniques that we're trying to convey, which is, again, as the intro says, is they're not ours. Robert Simmons' Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle. It's 9 exercises. And the fundamentals of each of these exercises, in my opinion, I guess I'll say it that way, I don't want to speak for Robert's fundamentals, is keeping the RPMs higher than maybe some newer riders are used to, a little bit above idle, at least 1,800 to 2,000 RPMs. That's called the preload, and we preload and keep it loaded. We keep those RPMs at 1,800 to 2,000. We work the clutch, and we cover the rear brake. We just cover the rear brake, not jam the rear brake. Cover the rear brake. Get the clutch just into the friction zone enough that the bike moves forward, and we're working on slow speed operation. So here I am working with my 2017 Ultra Classic named Fred. So the idea is slow takeoff, drop your foot. We're not hopping or skipping our feet. As soon as we start to move, we're picking the foot up. Does that sound simple? Absolutely. Is it as easy as it sounds? Not really. Nope. So we just have to get used to that, keeping the power in the motorcycle, keeping the power in the RPMs of the engine, a little rear brake pressure. We're opening that clutch just enough to get moving. Now see here, Doug is still going too fast. Doug picks it up quickly. I mean, I think by the next exercise, he's got the slow ride down.
It's almost the opposite, right? Like exactly the opposite.
But it's managing your motorcycle at the slowest speeds.
There you go.
Anybody can sit on a motorcycle and go fast, right? That takes nothing. The motorcycle doesn't need you at speed.
Yeah. You get the feel of it, how the bike is pulling you. That's what you want. Yeah, so
Yeah, he's even getting better already. Yeah.
here in your clutch, you just want to be like micro, let the bike Yep, that's great. Good job. Yeah, do it all the way back. Yep. Just keep it where the throttle is just engaged, the clutch is just engaged, and let the bike pull you. Eyes up.
Yeah, see? Bob has been riding. I don't know how old Bob is, but he said he's been riding forever, mostly his whole life. Look at how difficult it is, and we're not making fun. We're just trying to understand. this is the average rider. These are folks that simply don't practice this. Bob is a competent rider on the road for sure. These are slow speed skills that people just don't practice. I think it's really great. Okay, exercise 2 is the slow ride. The slow ride is staying into that. So imagine exercise 1, slow starts and slow stops, just continuing that as one great big slow start and slow stop. But the challenge here is maintaining that slow speed. Everybody wants to get going. Once they get going, give it more gas, let the clutch out, go straight. The challenge here, the practice here, is to run that clutch friction point. No rear brake, no brakes at all. Is to run that clutch friction point. See how well Rich does with this. Just to the point where it pulls you forward. You're correcting with your handlebars, just to keep you up. So you're really playing with, do we have the fine motor skills and the control over the motorcycle to keep it going at speeds as slow as possible. See, here's Doug whooshing up to the stop, like he doesn't mean to do that. He's just still trying to figure out how to go slow. It's weird, right? Without the brake, for a newer rider to go really slow. He's just working on pulling that clutch in a little bit.
Yeah, that was okay. The real mental drill here is no rear brake, which you did. It's great. Is that we're just like in and out of that friction zone, right? We get going so slow that we got to kind of correct. A little more clutch, a little more, right? And then a little too much speed, a little bit in. So it's just like micro movements, that dexterity. I thought it looked great. That's great. Perfect. It's like we're going up to a stoplight. It's all right. It's all right. All right. Take it up from there. Yep. Nice and slow. Pull that clutch in a little bit. All right. Smooth stop. That was great. First time. That's great. The exercise here, as I was telling Doug, is so no rear brake, which you did. Nice job of. This is the exercise where we're like finding that friction zone, and when we're going too fast a little bit, we're pulling that friction zone in. When we're going a little bit too slow, we're letting out the power a little bit, right? So we always want to have a little bit of RPMs, so you don't have to do two things when you need it, right? So that you always got the power, and you just let that clutch out, good to go.
How much RPM should I get?
1800, 2000, yeah, right there.
Up there?
What's cool about the Harleys is 2000, when that's at about 1800 to 2000, they actually run smoother. Like you can see it, you can feel it, not shaking as much. So the bike loves it. Like it's not hurting the bike. Makes sense, good job.
Okay, Fred on the slow ride. Again, just keeping it slow. See them moving the handlebars back and forth. That's okay to correct. In fact, you want to see that.
Okay, last clutch. Throttle high.
Baby Doug's already getting it. See how much slower he's going now. I sped it up just a little bit, but yep, there he is correcting it. Really good. Look at that. What is that? Second or third time trying it? Really, really nice. Yep. Yeah, see, Bob even said when he first got to us, anything under 50 miles an hour he needs help with.
So you want to be going slow enough to match my speed. You want to be going slow enough to match my speed. Okay, so it just means you're doing too much clutch. The bike will stay up as long as the throttle's up there. Slow, slow, slow. That's it. Yes! Yes!
So we're trust and believe. Exercise 3.
Trust and believe. Trust and believe is a really, really important one to practice. It's the one exercise that we do of the 9 that it is not encouraged to try on the road, but it's really to build the habit of letting the clutch out when we feel imbalance on the bike or an uh-oh moment. So it's teaching the operator the steps, like the 5 steps, preload and keep it loaded, cover the rear brake, bring the throttle up to 1800, 2000, and get that clutch just before the friction point. And right when the caller says foot up, you pick your foot up, and when you start to feel the bike tipping, then you let the clutch out. Very, very, oh yeah, he's going so fast and he's hitting that front brake.
We're always doing a slow ride, right? We're never really going fast, so that's cool. So this exercise is a little bit, for new people, it's a little bit weird. It's called trust and believe. You've probably seen it on the videos. It works on our habits to start learning to let the clutch out when we want the power, when it starts to get wobbly. So the steps are this. We'll just give it a try, like no big deal. The steps are this. Make sure it's in first gear, cover the rear brake, RPMs at 1800, 2000, and keep them there. And then you find that clutch engagement point to feel the bike move forward, and you pull back just a little bit. And then at that ready point, I go foot up, bring your foot up, let the clutch out, off we go. Okay? So let's give that a try. Okay, now pull it back a little bit. Pull it. Okay.
Always a little clunky the first time trying it, and Bob was so petrified.
Nice takeoff here. It's called trust and believe. So what we're trying to do is get that clutch. So RPMs are at 1800, 2000. Get that clutch where you feel it pulling. So let it out a little bit where you feel it pulling. Okay, so I'll pull it back in just a little bit. Right, yes. So now we're ready to go. That's the preloaded position. Then we're just picking our foot up, letting the clutch out, and going.
Pick my foot up first.
That's the idea. Yeah, but just get that clutch, ready. So just go ahead and go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Yeah, good.
That was really good. What a likable guy. Really good guy, Bob. Out there trying at his age, trying to learn something new. I think that's awesome. So hold the bike up. Even more I could have. When it starts to tip, then you let the clutch out. But after doing it so many times, you get it to kind of stand up there. Exercise 4 is left turns and right turns. Exercise 4 is 90-degree turns. We start with the left turns and we move to the right turns. And there are 3 different types of turns we do. 1, straight through, initially straight through. 2, we stop before entering into the turn. And 3, we stop before entering into the turn and stop at the completion of the turn, at the end of the lane here. So what we're practicing here, what the objective is, same rules as 1 and 2 and 3. Preload, keep it loaded. Cover the rear brake. Get the throttle to 1800 to 2000 RPMs. Get the clutch at the beginning of the friction point. Robert refers to it as number 1, so 1 through 5, let's say. 1 is just at the beginning of the grab or the bite, my friction point to keep you moving, and as soon as you begin to move, we're picking our feet up. So we're always practicing those things as we're moving in the lane and up to the turn. The turn itself is what the exercise is new to this exercise, right? The turn itself is what is new about number 4. So what we're after is maintaining the verticality of the motorcycle, if you will, the straight up and down of the bike. So we're it's quite a challenge. See, here's Doug. Here's a new guy already. Like, panic, stop. Like, it's weird to do this at such slow speed because most motorcycle operators are doing it at speed, right? They're using momentum to go around this turn. So we're using the power of the motorcycle to keep it straight up and down, and we're turning. Head and eyes go first, always, followed by handlebars. We're all still very much in the practice, even we do it as much as we do it. So one of the fundamental challenges here for anyone watching this, looking to learn how do we do these things, or what's the intention of this exercise. When you begin the turn, there's 2 things that I think are kind of unique. One is, what's your body placement? What's your body positioning? We're not leaning on the inside of the motorcycle. We're not taking a at-speed turn, right? So we're not getting our body down inside the bike to take this left turn. That's one. In fact, a little bit of counter sitting, a little bit of counter weighting, that is, when you're taking a left turn, you're sitting a little bit on the right side of the motorcycle. That's helpful. And 2, when the turn starts, it's a little more drag on the motorcycle, and what that requires is a little more throttle. Does that make sense? That's where the keep it loaded comes in, because we see a lot of times people will start with adequate RPMs, 1800, 2000. As soon as they let the clutch out and start to move, naturally the motorcycle's RPMs will go down. So that, said another way, the sufficient power to the rear wheel is lost when the RPMs go down. So then you enter into that turn, which is even a little more drag, requiring even a little more throttle to maintain that steady throttle of 1800 to 2000. Any one of those 2 things happens, you lose sufficient power to the rear wheel, and the bike starts to feel tippy, and the bike can tip over. So Doug's coming very, very close. He's really getting close to it. He gets it here in a minute, but that's the approach to these exercises. Now Lori and I and Rich will do some level up movements. We want to get, hug the inside cone, or we'll start beyond the white line. That's all just level up stuff, and that's all good and fine. But for the new practitioner, we're just working on left turns and right turns, keeping the bike straight up and down. So now Doug's a little too fast, right? He's got a little too much speed going. What I came to observe after Doug tried this 3 or 4 times was he wasn't getting the cover the rear brake. He wasn't getting the use the rear brake to trim some speed. So he's hitting that too fast. I mean, we practice doing it brakeless as a level up. Brakeless is harder. So I caught that, and I asked Doug to come up and watch this, and watch Lori, watch her brake foot. So you're actually applying the rear brake very gently as you're coming around the corner. A little gentle pressure on the rear brake that keeps it up. So I wanted him to see Rich and Lori doing this. Doug was newly retired from the Navy, I believe. Had some cool stories about riding his motorcycle in the Swiss Alps and all through the mountains in Italy. Very, very cool. But you could tell he was a smart guy. He was able to pick things up quickly, and he was a really fast learner. Rich hopping it a little bit, but still just demonstrating what the rear brake is used for. Hey man, it doesn't matter how many times we do it, we still every once in a while don't get it perfect. So now Lori's working from a start and she's working ahead of the line here. So what all this means is you got to get into the turn right away. You got to get that front tire turned, you get those handlebars turned, and let that clutch, let that motorcycle pull you through. So now here's Doug after seeing what the rear brake can do, and he just touches it. I guess I didn't see that foot go down. I thought he hit it. But it looks like his foot just barely touches, but man, so close. So he's got to keep the power up. Doug had a hard time keeping the power up. Right, so as soon as he starts to get to what I would call the apex of that, which is kind of a loose term, at the very most critical point of that turn, to get into the habit of letting that clutch out a little bit and having it pull you through is critical. There it is. Look at that. God, I geek out. I love that. What is that? 6 tries, and he's already got a nice 90-degree smooth left turn. All right, right turns, same as the left turns, only different. Rules are obviously the same. The interesting thing is everyone has a favorite side. My rights are significantly less comfortable than my lefts. Who knows why? A lot of people, rights are easier. Lori and Rich both are better at rights than they are lefts. I don't know, doesn't matter. Rules are the same. Keep the bike straight up and down. Keep the RPMs 1800, 2000. Keep them a little bit elevated. They're not high at all. Elevated, 1800 to 2000 RPMs. Drag that brake a little bit and just get that bike in the power and get it to turn straight up like that. It's incredible once you figure out how to do it. It's not super easy once you figure out how to do it, but that's why we practice, right? We get better and better every time. So again, we go straight through, take a stop, and then go all the way through, then stop before and after, the beginning and the end. So now we're at the phase where we're stopping before. Right, what's happening right now is Rich and Lori are going around and around, and I'm talking to Doug and Bob about how to do the exercise. So these two are kind of getting their reps, and they're kind of being an example, and I'm working with Doug, explaining that. We leave some of that explanation in the video because maybe there's someone watching that wants to hear it, that they want to hear the explanation. I need to better understand why we do what we do, because they want to get better. So the cone is 1/16 of an inch out of place. Lori's going to correct that. Really important when you start that far through the turn Got to get those handlebars turned right away. No time to be going straight then turning. So you gotta. It's additionally challenging when you turn your handlebars before you even start, right? So you got to take off from a stop with the handlebars turned. See here, Doug is already. I think it's two things. He's got it figured out how to keep preload it and keep it loaded, and run that clutch friction point. And he likes rights better than lefts. Lori and Rich quite proficient working. Look at the slow approach, slow speed approach, working on friction braking, coming up to the turn, maintaining that bike, maintaining the sufficient power to the rear wheel as they make the turn. Oh, see right there, Doug needs to open the clutch. He needs to open that clutch up. That's what Lori's yelling, clutch. He opens that clutch right there at that critical point. That's why trust and believe, right? That's what we're learning in trust and believe, that when it starts to feel like, uh-oh, you let the clutch out, he would have gone straight through that turn. Here's big old Fred. So instead of just opening the clutch and going straight, I wanted to start the turn kind of from there, just to practice on a start with the handlebars turned. I think Lori might be going brakeless there. Here's Doug. Oh, again, it's just getting comfortable, man. When you're going slow like that, and you have your handlebars turned, it's like an automatic tip over feeling. Like the bike feels like it's going to tip right over. Not until you get that confidence that when I keep the power right and I get into that clutch friction point, will you feel comfortable making that turn and opening that clutch a little bit, and that bike stands right up. When you open the clutch, like literally the bike wants to stand up for you. It's just managing the proper throttle and the proper clutch friction point. See, Doug had a hard time keeping the revs up. He'll figure it out. I'm trying to just go super slow, just practice on my slow skills. A little bit of a lean there, slight lean. These are first world problems. Just goofing a little bit there. Exercise 5, the single serpentine. First exercise of the day that introduces lean. The theme for this one is start wide and stay wide. You see Lori really emphasizing that. Getting some good leaning. We're looking at moving, not just not hitting cones, but we're working on turning the handlebars, transitioning those handlebars, leaning that bike, keeping the head and eyes looking straight forward. This is just building basic control of your motorcycle. Obstacle avoidance on the road. This is a real challenge for people who only want to go straight, which is most riders, honestly. I'm not trying to sound a certain way, but a lot of riders don't want to lean the motorcycle at all. They want to keep it straight up and down. Well, this is why we do this exercise, so we can kind of get used to dipping it. Do the dip and bring it around. Once you get comfortable with that clutch friction point and the power in the engine, the RPMs, it's not scary. At least it's not as scary. You got to be able to trust that you're in the right clutch friction point So you can, when you get to about this point, you let that clutch out and it pulls you through. A little bit in, out, pulls you through. So Lori's really good at this. Start wide, stay wide. I find this one to be quite challenging. I'm still working, I'm still a long ways from where I want to be on exercise 5. I often feel like it's kind of clunky, like I'm not super smooth, and I feel like I'm putting a little too much pressure on the rear brake instead of just allowing that clutch to pull me through it. All right, here comes Doug, first try, and Bob. So Bob sat out the right turns and left turns. He didn't want to do the turns. And then he decided he wanted to jump in here, and that's fine. But I tried, I explained it to him. We want to lean. He's kind of going straight. But he's out there trying, and I think that's super cool. Obstacle avoidance. Love to hear in the comments, has anyone actually had to use this maneuver on the road? I know we have. Down here in Florida, there are a lot of sod trucks. And those sod trucks will drop these hunks of sod. You can run them over, it's not that hazardous, but just another object on the road. But watch Bob here. He tips it right there. What did Bob do there? He let the power out of the motorcycle. He had any lean at all, light lean. It's just a very slight lean. Bob's okay and the bike's okay. Exercise 6, U-turns. Sometimes when we have new people come to practice, they'll struggle mightily with the stops and starts and with really the first 4, but they're better at 5, single serpentine, where you're doing the cone weave, and better at 6 because now we're moving a little bit quicker, right? We're back into the comfort zone of those who would like to go fast. So we had that with a number of new people. Do U-turns better, which is the 6th exercise, number 6, better than 1 through 5, which is, nothing's wrong with that. It's just different, but believable, right? Because you have people used to taking everything with some speed and momentum. But you do need to get a little comfortable leaning the motorcycle. So again, the cone width, the orange cone width is 27 feet, and the green cones, those little green cones there, are 18 feet. Look at Doug almost doing an 18-foot first try. Not that he's never done a U-turn before in his life, but doing it in this way, man, it's something. It took me a little while to get to comfortable doing 18-foot U-turns. Now, 18-foot U-turns are not necessary. Even Robert says it's not necessary to learn how to do an 18-foot. It's just an up level. What we really want to be is comfortably in between the green cones and the far orange cones, right? So 24 feet, we want to be really comfortable doing a U-turn on a 2-lane country road. Here's the thing with that. Let's say you're on a 2-lane country road and it's 24 feet wide. Edge to edge, right? Dirt shoulder to dirt shoulder, you got 24 feet. You're not going to start 1 inch or a half inch from the right edge of the pavement, are you? Of course not. You're going to be at 6 inches in, maybe even a foot in. Like who can, we're practicing front wheel placement. Sometimes we don't get that right. So now we got to do a 23-foot U-turn, right? Now who's going to make that U-turn with 1 inch to spare on the far side of it, or a 1/4 inch to spare? Nobody, right? You would ideally make it in, within a foot or maybe 2. So now you're at a 20-foot U-turn, right? A 21-foot U-turn, and you want to be comfortable with that. So people say, why practice 18-foot U-turns? It seems silly. That's why. 2 reasons. We always want to get better, and we want to be highly proficient in as many situations, you can't see any really, but as many situations that we might find ourselves on the road in. as possible. Lori and I rode 22,000 miles this summer. We took 2 6-week trips, each of them 11,000 miles. Don't think for a second that we didn't encounter a lot of different circumstances and environments that we needed to figure out how to run our motorcycle through. And I'll tell you what, every single time we ran into a challenging circumstance, that we have Cardo helmet communicators, one of us always said, the rules don't change. Rules don't change. We'd have some 90-degree turn, some hill, some switchback hill on dirt. Rules don't change. The rules don't change. Preload and keep it loaded. Cover the rear brake. Get your RPMs at 1800 to 2000. Find the clutch friction point and lift your foot as soon as you feel the bike moving. All right, I digress. These are U-turns, and what we're working on here is, guess what? The same things. It's the same things. We're taking a left turn and we're holding it even longer. So we're doing a U shape instead of just a 90-degree left turn. It's a little bit more required in terms of speed. So now here, Doug's still going too slow, right? You do need a little speed to bring it around. See, Lori, look at that speed. Beautiful, smooth, so good. Head and eyes, then handlebars. Bring that bike right around. Maintain that clutch friction point. Maintain that engine RPMs. Bring it around. I'm getting better with my rights. That was more just being playful. The swooping at the end. But see, that's really good. So Rich and I both are adverse to starting inside the 18-foot cones and taking right U-turns, because I am not going to run up on those orange cones again. If anybody missed the big wild drop I had in exercise practice session 64, that's why. So I got my front tire caught on an orange cone, and buddy, I went for a ride. So that won't be happening again. We're gonna do our 18-foot U-turns right from there, right where Rich is taking his from. We get solidly inside of that white line that Rich just did, and we got a comfortable 18-foot U-turn. Nice. Yep. So that's good, solid 18-footer right there. Good, good, good. So here's Doug. Needs a little more speed, right? A little more throttle, a little more clutch friction point, right? Needs to let that clutch out just a little bit more, get a little bit more speed. Lori's got nice speed coming around. You don't want too much. Too much speed kind of makes sense, right? Too much speed carries you too far forward in the U-turn, or in the in the Snowman, which is later exercise 9. So we're head and eyes, good fluid movements, getting used to the inputs it requires to make the motorcycle do what we want it to do. Yeah, so Doug's a little hesitant just to let that clutch out. I get it. You gotta get used to that movement. Same with the U-turns as with turns, left and right turns. We go straight through, then we do a stop at the beginning of the U-turn, do that a few times, and then we do a stop at the beginning of the U-turn and at the end of the U-turn. We do that a few times, and then we move on. I find doing these from a stop is more difficult. Difficult is probably not the right word, more challenging. You got to get into that friction point right away. You got to get that handlebars turned right away if I want to make an 18-foot. It's the head and eyes that always gives me trouble. That is the power of breaking bad habits. So better to start, if you're a new rider, better to start with these good habits like Lori did. She just doesn't understand why people can't turn their head and eyes before they turn. That's the way she learned. She learned to do it the right way. He's getting it. Doug's doing a good job. Just power, man, right? Get that clutch out. So working on turning it right at the beginning. Yep, so that was actually pretty good. Getting that turned as soon as you start moving, even before, as crazy as that might sound. Right, so he gets into that apex and there he holds it. Oh, that's so great. So exercise 7, figure eights, takes the U-turn and really builds on that. Really what this is a right U-turn and a left U-turn, back to back, all in a row, all connected on a ribbon. So as you can see, Lori's taking now a left U-turn, holding it now for about another 25 degrees, then transitioning to a right U-turn and holding that all the way around, holding it to the middle section there and then bringing it around. So it's important in this exercise that we maintain the shape of an 8, meaning right here, if she goes to the corner, she's ruined herself for the next U-turn that's required. And that's a tendency that people have in this exercise. They make this turn and go straight to the corner. You got to hold that turn, go right to the sideline, then transition left and bring it around. Same width, 27 feet. Roughly two parking spots is 18, 19 feet. So sometimes we try to bring it into the 2 parking spaces. It doesn't matter. What's important is the movement. What's important is the transition. Where of course we have to have some lean in order to make this happen. I suppose you could do a figure 8 straight up if you went super slow, but that's not the exercise. We're leaning, we're transitioning, we're working with our head and eyes, we're working with our clutch friction point. Rich is doing a little bit of a level up there with a stop and go. But this is something that I said it earlier that we do, well, that was a good one, that we do every week. And we're still, have lots of room for improvement. So that's what's important too, is these skills are perishable. It takes a long time. They're non-linear, meaning you don't, sometimes, at least for me, I may do something 10 times, and then on the 11th time, I'm like, wow, okay, I got it figured out. That was a big breakthrough. So it seems to be like fits and starts, and then I make bigger leaps. What I learned on this, when I did this in this particular practice session, 67, is watching myself do these, I was so slow. And in this one and in 68, coming up next, I really made an effort to go a little faster. And what I learned was you go faster and you have to lean more, and you start hitting your boards. So that, there's a lot of improvement that I have to do yet. But as I learned, I'm working on being nimble with my motorcycle. And the faster I go in a lean, the more I catch it. So I took a wider stance here because I'm working on the stop and go. I can't quite get it locked up. So here I come in from the other angle. Yeah, it's just too slow. Sometimes I get to the apex and it's just slow moving. All part of the practice. That's good though, how I'm staying on that white line. You see that? Where you stay on the white line, you go straight, then turn it. Not so good, that one. No, hold it. Now I'm trying to do a stop and go. Oh, that was good. A little bit better. There's Lori having another run. Well inside the 2 parking places. So it's transition, it's doing whatever you need to do with your body to make sure that that you're able to effectively maneuver the motorcycle in the lefts and rights. I usually try to scooch over a little bit, although some people think that's not a good idea. But you can see, if you watch Lori's shoulders, you can see her shoulders she's counterweighting a little bit. So her shoulders are off to the left a little. See that? She's kind of angling her hips. After a lot of practice, you just start figuring that stuff out. So here's Doug's first time. Now you see us do this every week, and it's like, yeah, well, what's the big deal? Here's Doug, seasoned rider, right? Ridden the Swiss Alps and ridden all these Italian mountains, like a good dude and a good rider. Hasn't really practiced this stuff before, so it's not natural for him to do these slow speed maneuvers. Right, so he's got no lean. See that he's going so straight up and down, he's not able to lean the bike. If he just, this can take a while, but if he gets that clutch open a little bit, he'd be a little more comfortable leaning. I'm sure he can lean the bike like in a longer turn on a road. It's different than leaning it when you're going at slow speeds, because you don't have that centrifugal force to pull you through that momentum, right? Yeah, see that? So he's not feeling the power just yet. Exercise 8, offset double serpentine. I have no idea why we don't have GoPro footage for these first few. No idea. I don't remember what I was doing, but what I wasn't doing was running the GoPro 180 on this. So sorry about that. This is difficult footage to get a sense for what Lori's doing. So offset double serpentine is an exercise of transitions and S turns. So we're working on S turns and holding those turns, bringing it back, not going to the next gate or directly to the next gate. It's an S shape. So now she's holding it to the right, transition left. Now she's in the left turn, she's holding it, then transition right. Can you see that? A little bit harder, easier on the nearer ones, but there, right. So here's Rich gonna do the same thing. He's gonna get real small, but it's holding it, transition, hold it, transition. You can achieve some speed, but again, what I'm working on being more nimble and going a little quicker. I also hit my boards pretty hard on this one as well, which is okay. It's okay to touch your boards, but that's not the goal, right? That's not what we're after. It's not cool to be board dragging. No one's bragging about that. We're just trying to understand where the lean angles need to be in order to accomplish what we're looking to accomplish. And what it definitely is an advanced warning indicator. Like if you go too deep into the boards, it's gonna move your tires off the surface of whatever you're on. All right, Lori and Rich. It might not seem like it, but it's definitely different when you're riding like this and there's someone right behind you. Weird, right? It's just it takes a little more concentration to hold that line, to hold the turn, and then transition through the gate. And it's a little more fun. All right, so what we like to do is, especially with new people who are getting used to this movement, is we have them follow Lori. Typically it's Lori, because it seems to help, right? It seems to help when the person can just look in front of them and see what the line Lori's taking and how she's doing it. It's helpful. So what we learned here is Doug is excellent at this particular exercise. These movements he just learned. Even just now, whatever it is, an hour and a half, 2 hours after starting with us this day, you can hear the RPMs up. He's got the RPMs elevated to the desirable level, 1800 to 2000. Slight pressure on the rear brake. He's got that clutch friction point going, and now he's able to hold it. He's really bringing it back. That's a big deal here. I'm telling you, a lot of people can't get that right, and he got it right on his first day, first try. Yeah, he could get more lean, right? He could get more lean and let that clutch out a little bit, a little more speed, but just excellent for the first time doing it. He's holding it. He's not going to the gate. Understands the concept of holding it and then transitioning through the gate. Really great. There he over demonstrates that transition, but really, really good.
My guys have this over in Italy. You're getting switchbacks all over in the mountains.
Oh, so you got easy. So you can go
Relatively. But my U-turns and everything else is kicking my butt. Yeah, you got...
You can go through the gate.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll follow. You guys done?
Yeah, we usually
Oh, okay.
do singles, so I just brought you through it because a lot of people just don't get that exercise, but you got it.
Yeah. You really nailed it.
Doug is completely ready to do that on his own. Look at that. Does a really nice job with that. Of course, improvement, you know, a little more lean, head and eyes could be better, but he's maneuvering that bike in a really impressive way. It's got good head and eyes there. Got the transition. Nicely done. And he kind of loses his way. All good. Exercise 9 is the Snowman. Snowman takes us through shrinking circles. Sounds simple, but the intention of the exercise is to use all of the real estate, stay along the perimeter of the cones. We're working on head and eyes. We're working on clutch control. We're working on making sure that we're maintaining a level and constant strong RPMs, 1800, 2000. We just want that motor to always be there for us when we need it. Watch wheel placement here, early. So what happens when we're early in the beginning? We're late, so to speak, on the end, right? So Rich is just so close. We practice wheel placement in exercise 1 and 2 specifically, where we're trying to stop our front tire at the cone for this reason, right? We want to make sure that, even in the world, right, we want to make sure we know where our front tire is. Remember the example of taking a U-turn on a country road. We got to know where our front tire is and know what the kind of the bike looks and feels like when we're at a certain point on a road. Maybe there's a hard object, maybe there's a gutter or a drain or something. We want to make sure that we can manage where our front tire is. So Rich again, very close on that 18. He's going to get it, and when he does, it's going to be amazing. So Lori, excellent head and eyes. See her shoulders are twisted, head and eyes moving. Excellent wheel placement. Look at that. Looks like inches away from the cones as she brings it around. So again, the mantra here is placement hug them, commit, meaning get your tires, your front tire near, like your wheel placement is in the right spot as you begin that circle, that 18-foot circle. Hug them, meaning stay with them, stay at that proximity to the cones, if you will. And then when you get to the top, commit. You got to commit to the lean. You got to commit to the bike coming around. Now here's Lori taking a just a different direction. So it's going, now she's taking a left turn through here. Lefts are her weak side. So she's able to clean this just almost all the time now. In fact, she will go around 2 and 3 times regularly, which is just an added challenge to that. Here's Doug giving it a whirl. Man, mad respect for Doug for just giving it a try. This is a kind of an intimidating one. It's the last one, arguably the most difficult one, but he's getting it. But you can see what he needs is more power, right? He's got to be comfortable leaning it, a slow speed lean, and giving it enough juice to pull him through. Got to pull him through. All right, Fred's turn. Try to move up the bigger ones fairly quickly. Sometimes I'll go around twice on each one just to get like if I've been off it for a long time running the cameras and stuff, get a little cold, but we had it moving here, so just trying to get up and through it, work on the 18s. It's a good wheel placement here, it comes right around. My lefts are usually pretty good. I'm pretty consistent, probably 80% clean on my lefts. A lot of improvement to do here, and there are many more difficult versions of this exercise. So not at all acting like I got it all figured out, but my left one's okay. Now I'm changing my direction, working on my rights. So my rights are my tougher ones. Yep. So that you can see I'm checking up and going slowly. Honestly, I may have made that. I'm not really sure, but we're pretty close. But it needs to be smoother, right? It can't be stopping right there. I just want to keep it smooth. Bring it around. Everything needs to be smooth.
Couple of interviews. Kodak moment. Yeah, what'd you guys think?
I thought it was terrific.
I think it's fantastic. I just got to get my head to wrap around what I know. He's keeping the throttle up. And I noticed that when he's going through it, he's keeping the throttle up. My brain's still telling me when you slow down, drop the throttle bounce, and that's my problem right now.
It's right. It's hard to get over not only instincts but habits.
That's what I have too.
Yeah.
I know in my mind, if I give it enough throttle and work the clutch, it's going to stay up, no matter how tight I am. However, from here to here is a problem.
That's where practice comes in.
Muscle memory, right?
Muscle memory. So what'd you think, Doug?
Oh, fantastic. And I love that you have this out here. I mean, I can come on Saturdays, and believe me, I'm going to come out more than I probably need to, right? But yeah, just repetition is exactly what I need. It's those basics that you forget about over time. And you build those bad habits, and now really thinking about it out here, really good. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah, and it will enhance your riding on the street so much because you'll feel way more confident when situations arise.
Sure.
So we have heroes. This woman has a flat tire, so the men are assisting her.
Well, thanks for joining us for another Sebastian practice session. We hope you were able to pick up something useful, either what to do, what not to do, or both. Join us for future practice sessions where we always have new people at every skill level joining us. There's always something new to learn, and where we get just a little bit better every time we practice. Thanks again.